I still remember the morning the letter arrived. It was a quiet Sunday in late September, the kind of morning where the air feels soft and gentle, like it's trying to comfort you before giving you bad news. I had just poured myself a cup of black coffee when I noticed the envelope on my porch. No return address. No markings. Just my name written in a handwriting I hadn't seen in 3 long, aching years. Sophie. Even before I picked it up, my hand began to shake. I thought I'd imagined the letters. I thought loneliness was playing some cruel trick on me again. But when I touched the ink, I felt something inside me break open. My daughter had written to me. After 3 years of silence. 3 years of unanswered calls. 3 years of birthdays I celebrated alone. 3 years of sending gifts that were returned unopened. 3 years of waiting for a voice that never reached me. And all because her mother, my ex-wife Linda, decided that punishing me was easier than letting our daughter love me. I didn't open the letter right away. I just held it. I held it like a man holds fragile hope, afraid that if he squeezes too hard, it might disappear. When I finally opened it, a single line made me sit down immediately, my legs weak beneath me. Dad, something Mom told me about you doesn't feel right anymore. I didn't know what she meant. I didn't know if she was angry, confused, hurt, or reaching out for the first time with trembling hands. But I knew one thing. Something had shifted in her world. And whatever it was, it had opened a door that had been locked for too long. I took a deep breath and began to read her letter, not knowing it would take me back into a past filled with betrayal, quiet suffering, and the kind of revenge that doesn't come from anger, but from patience. My name is Michael Carter. I'm a 52-year-old carpenter living in a small suburban town in Oregon. I build kitchen tables, fix old stairs, restore broken fences, simple things. Things that remind me that even when life breaks, a steady hand can mend it. I wasn't always a quiet man. There was a time I laughed louder, lived bigger, and believed marriage meant forever. Linda and I met in college. She was charming, beautiful, and full of confidence. The kind of woman who always wanted more attention, more praise, more success. I wasn't blind to her ambition. In fact, I admired it. But admiration becomes blindness when love is involved. I didn't see the warning signs, her need to control, her quiet jealousy whenever Sophie turned to me instead of her, her tendency to twist small disagreements into dramatic battles. We divorced when Sophie was 11. It wasn't dramatic. No screaming, no throwing things, no broken windows. Just broken hearts. But after the papers were signed, Linda's real battle began, the one against me. She told friends I was unreliable. She told neighbors I was unstable. And she told Sophie, well, I didn't know exactly what she told Sophie, but I knew the moment it started. Sophie stopped running into my arms. Stopped calling me Dad with that bright excitement in her voice. Stopped asking for bedtime stories. Stopped reaching for my hand. And one day, she simply stopped coming. I fought, of course. I went to court, hired attorneys, sent messages, tried to explain. But Linda was smarter, or maybe just more ruthless. She played the perfect mother, the victim, the concerned parent. And I, a quiet man who never liked confrontation, was painted as the weak link. People say truth always wins in the end. But I've learned something. Truth only wins when someone is willing to fight for it. And at that time, I was too broken to fight. For 3 years, Sophie stayed silent. 3 years of Linda's words shaping every thought in her head. And I lived with the weight of that silence every day, building tables for strangers while my own daughter drifted away from me. Until the morning her letter arrived. Sophie's letter was short. Maybe 200 words at most. But every line cut deeper than the last. She wrote, Dad, I know it's been a long time. I know you reached out. I know you tried. But I believed things I was told. Lately, something feels off. Mom told me you left because you didn't want us anymore. I grew up thinking you just walked away. The moment I read that sentence, my chest tightened. Linda had told her that? That I abandoned them? That I didn't want my own daughter? Sophie continued. Last week, I heard Mom arguing with Grandma. I wasn't supposed to hear it.
But I did.
They mentioned the court case and how you never fought it because you were too heartbroken to deal with Linda's lies. Grandma said Mom pushed you out on purpose.
My hands went numb.
Linda's mother, Evelyn, had always been sharper than her daughter.
She knew the truth.
She saw how much I loved Sophie. She knew what Linda was capable of. But she had stayed silent all these years. Maybe guilt had finally cracked her. Sophie wrote, I don't know what to believe anymore. But I think I want to hear your side. If you're willing. If I was willing, I would have walked barefoot across broken glass just to hear my daughter say my name again. I wrote back that same night. But I didn't send a dramatic letter filled with emotion. I wrote simply, Sophie, I never left you. I have always loved you. I am here whenever you want to talk.
Dad.
Later that week, she agreed to meet me at a small cafe downtown. A quiet place with warm lights and old wooden chairs. I arrived early, too early, and sat by the window, tapping my thumb against my cup, just trying to breathe. When she walked in, I almost didn't recognize her. She was 15 now.
Taller. Quieter.
Her brown hair pulled back in a simple ponytail. Her eyes, my eyes, carried a weight I'd never wanted her to bear. She sat across from me, and for a moment, we said nothing. Then she whispered, Dad, did you really want to leave me?
My throat closed.
I wanted to stand up, shout the truth, grab her hand, hold her, protect her from every lie she'd been fed. But shouting never works against someone who's been quietly hurt. So I spoke softly.
No, Sophie.
I never wanted to leave. Your mother made choices. Choices I couldn't fight at the time. But I never stopped loving you.
She looked down.
Mom said you didn't show up for the hearings.
I did, I said gently. She changed the dates. Twice.
I found out after the rulings. Her eyes lifted slowly. Mom said you forgot my birthday. I spent every birthday waiting outside the house with a gift. She never let me see you.
Silence. A long, painful silence.
Then Sophie said something I'll never forget. She always told me you were weak.
Weak. I smiled.
A sad, tired smile. Sometimes people confuse kindness with weakness, I said. But strength isn't what you shout. It's what you carry.
She looked away, blinking fast.
I realized she was fighting tears. Our conversation was slow, fragile, and careful, like stitching a wound that had been open too long.
And little by little, I saw her heart opening. Not fully. Not yet.
But enough to give me something I hadn't felt in years.
Hope.
But I also knew something Linda didn't know. While she had been busy twisting the truth, I had quietly built something far more powerful.
Patience.
And patience, when used wisely, becomes the sharpest revenge of all. 2 weeks after our cafe meeting, something unexpected happened. Sophie asked to visit my home. It was a simple request, sent in a text that almost didn't seem real. Dad, can I come over after school? Those words, they felt like sunlight after a long winter. When she arrived, she walked around slowly, taking in my modest little house, the shelves I'd built, the photos I'd kept, the small wooden bird figurines I had carved during lonely nights. Her eyes settled on a framed picture by the fireplace. A photo of her at 5 years old, smiling wide, missing her front teeth. She picked it up gently. You kept this. I kept everything, I said. She turned the frame around and saw the date I'd written on the back.
Her birthday. The year before the divorce. Her lip trembled.
Mom said you threw all our photos away.
I shook my head.
Your mother was angry. Anger makes people rewrite stories that don't belong to them.
She swallowed hard.
During that visit, Sophie stayed longer than expected.
We cooked pasta together. We talked about school.
She told me about her love for painting, something I didn't even know she liked.
Before she left, she hugged me. A real hug. Not a polite one.
A hug from a daughter who had finally seen a piece of truth. But with every step toward reconnection, I knew what was coming. Linda did not like losing control. 2 days later, my phone rang. Her number flashed across the screen, a number I hadn't answered in years. I let it ring twice before picking up.
Her voice was sharp.
What did you tell her, Michael? Only the truth. You're filling her head with lies.
No, I said calmly.
I'm just letting her see what you hid. She went silent for a moment, then hissed, "She's my daughter." "She's ours," I corrected softly. "You think you can turn her against me?" she snapped.
I took a slow breath. No, Linda.
You already did that yourself. That was when her voice cracked. I won't let you take her from me. I'm not trying to take anything, I said. I'm just opening a door you closed.
She hung up.
And I knew war was coming, not the loud, violent kind, but the quiet, manipulative battle Linda excelled at. But this time, I wasn't the man I was years ago.
I wasn't broken. I wasn't scared. And I wasn't alone.
Sophie came by again the next week, this time with a backpack.
Mom and I fought, she said quietly.
She said you were poisoning me. I told her maybe she should stop lying.
My heart hurt for her.
For the position she'd been put in.
But she continued.
I think I want to stay here tonight, if that's okay. I nodded, my throat too tight to speak. What Linda didn't know was that I had been documenting everything. Every missed visit, every returned gift, every court date that had been changed without my knowledge. I had quietly collected proof for years. Not to use it as a weapon, but to prepare for the day Sophie needed the truth.
That day had come.
And the detail that changed everything happened the next morning. Sophie showed me her phone. A text message from Linda, panicked and furious. If you don't come home now, I'll make sure your father never sees you again.
I did it once.
I can do it again. Sophie looked up at me and whispered, Dad, she admitted it. And just like that, the truth Linda had buried for years surfaced on its own, without me lifting a finger. Quiet revenge isn't about destruction. It's about letting people destroy themselves with their own lies.
I didn't storm into court.
I didn't send the text message to lawyers or friends. I didn't expose Linda on social media like many angry parents would have done.
No. I breathed. I thought.
And I acted with the same patience that had guided me for years. I called a family attorney I trusted, a calm man named Gregory Hayes. When I showed him the messages, the records I'd kept, the unopened gifts, the altered court dates, he raised his brows.
Michael, this is substantial.
This is parental alienation. And now, with Sophie old enough to speak for herself, the court will listen. Sophie sat beside me, nervous but determined.
I want to tell the truth, she said. Gregory nodded.
And the court will let you. The hearing happened 2 months later. Linda arrived furious, dressed in expensive clothes, armed with a high-priced attorney. She glared at me like I was an intruder in her life, not the man she once vowed to love, not the father of her child. When Sophie walked into the courtroom and chose to sit beside me, Linda's face fell. The judge listened carefully as Sophie spoke. Her voice was steady, though her hands shook. My dad never abandoned me, she said. I was told things that weren't true. I overheard conversations. I saw messages. I want a relationship with him. Linda's attorney tried to argue, tried to twist, tried to paint me as distant, uninvolved, uncaring. Then Gregory submitted the years of evidence.
The gifts returned.
The court notices sent to the wrong address. The changed hearing dates. The text Linda wrote the night Sophie stayed with me.
The courtroom went silent.
For the first time in years, I saw something crack in Linda's expression, Not anger, not hatred.
Fear.
The judge took a long breath. This court finds that Mr. Carter was deliberately denied access to his daughter by Ms. Harper. Effective immediately, custody arrangements will be revised. Sophie may freely choose her residence. Linda's attorney stood.
Your Honor.
That will be all, the judge said firmly.
The gavel fell. Case closed.
Linda didn't come after me. She didn't try to fight the ruling. Maybe she finally realized the damage she had done, or maybe the truth was too heavy to argue with. Sophie moved in with me that very month. Our house became brighter, warmer, and louder in the best way. She painted her room blue. She decorated her walls with sketches. I built her a bookshelf, and she filled it with art books and novels.
We cooked together. We laughed. We healed.
Slowly, naturally, without forcing anything. And as for Linda, she stayed distant for a while. Then she asked to meet Sophie. And do you know what my daughter said? I'll talk to you, but not about Dad.
Not anymore.
That was the moment my quiet revenge was complete.
Not because I won.
Not because Linda lost. But because the truth, without screaming, without fighting, found its way home. It has been a year since Sophie moved back into my life. Sometimes, when I see her sitting on the porch reading a book, or laughing while stirring a pot of pasta, I feel something inside me settle.
Peace.
True peace. The kind that comes after a long storm, when the clouds finally part and you see the sky again. One evening, we sat on the porch watching the sun dip behind the trees. Sophie leaned her head on my shoulder and said, "I'm sorry I stayed away so long." I placed my hand gently over hers.
You were a child, I said.
You trusted the person raising you. There's no blame in that.
She nodded softly.
You're not angry at Mom anymore? I took a slow breath, letting the breeze wash over me.
No, I said.
Anger is heavy, Sophie. Carry it long enough, and it crushes you. Your mother made choices.
Some were cruel.
Some were selfish. But she will live with those choices.
And I
will live with peace.
She smiled.
I'm glad I found my way back to you.
Me too, I whispered.
The truth is, sometimes revenge isn't fire.
It isn't destruction.
It isn't loud or violent. Sometimes the best revenge is living in truth while others choke on their lies. Sometimes it's patience, quiet, steady patience, that brings justice. Sometimes it's letting the universe do the heavy lifting while you simply stay still, stay kind, stay yourself. As I look back now, I realize something important. Something I wish I had known during those painful years of silence. People who lie eventually collapse under the weight of their own stories. People who deceive eventually slip on the web they weave. And people who try to destroy you eventually destroy themselves. All you have to do is stand still long enough. Sophie's letter changed everything. Not because of the detail she wrote, but because she reached out at all. Because somewhere inside her, the truth had survived, like a small light waiting to be seen. And that light led her back to me. My revenge wasn't about hurting Linda. It wasn't about winning in court. It wasn't about proving anything to anyone. My revenge was getting my daughter back. And that, I've learned, is the only victory that ever mattered. Sometimes silence is the best revenge.